Hello, and welcome to the second video in this series where we're previewing new features in the 2023 version of the AEOI Hub reporting template. In this video, we're going to be looking at a brand new feature called the CRS matrix that we've introduced. I'd like to start by just providing some background information as to why we've introduced this new feature. In the AEOI Hub reporting template, we've always included logic to determine if an account holder is reportable based on the tax jurisdiction entered. If I take a look at an account, based on the jurisdiction of residence that's entered, if that's a CRS reportable jurisdiction, then we include it in the CRS report. As you can see here, Spain is CRS jurisdiction, so it would be included when the report is created. If the jurisdiction entered was not a CRS reportable jurisdiction, then we wouldn't include that account in the CRS report. And we've always had that logic. As to whether a jurisdiction is reportable is based on the submitter jurisdiction, which then issues lists of the reportable jurisdictions. So typically the tax authority will publish, usually annually, a list of the reportable jurisdictions that are relevant for financial institutions in that particular jurisdiction when they're filing their reports. At the AEOI Hub, we are constantly monitoring the websites of relevant tax authorities to check for updates and identify when they publish these lists of reportable jurisdictions. And when we identify a change and a new published list, we will update the template to recognize that logic. What that has meant historically is that every time there's been a change by a tax authority, we've needed to issue a new version of the template to incorporate the updated logic. What we wanted to do in the new version this year was two things. Firstly, provide better transparency and information about the logic that we're using and the sources of our information. And secondly, to provide a method that we can use to update the reporting template without requiring a completely new version of the template. So what we've introduced to tackle that is a new file called the CRS matrix file. The CRS matrix file is a separate Excel workbook which should be saved in the same folder as the main AEOI Hub reporting template. This matrix file contains an instructions worksheet and then a worksheet for each of the reporting periods that we support in the template. So from 2016 through to 2022. For each worksheet, we then list all of the submitter jurisdictions that we support filing for in AEOI Hub, and each row for particular submitter jurisdiction contains the CRS reportables logic. We have a link to the latest published list, the source of information that we're using. For example, if I were to look at Guernsey, which is a recent update, and I click on the hyperlink, that's taken me to the bulletin that issues the list of jurisdictions, and there are the 104 jurisdictions that Guernsey has published as being the relevant for reporting this year. Back to the matrix file, and this row here reflects that 104 jurisdictions. So the columns on here, we have a column for every jurisdiction in the world, and where it's marked with a true, that means that's reportable. So if we go across here, Albania, Andorra, all the way across, we would be able to check that where we see those trues, that corresponds to one of the jurisdictions that was published on that list. So whenever we discover new information and new published lists, we will provide an updated version of this CRS matrix file. What you can also do, if you become aware that a particular jurisdiction is going to update its reporting criteria, but it's not yet published it, you can edit this file and update, synchronize the AEOI Hub reporting template to force through the reporting of a particular jurisdiction. For example, at the time of creating this video, the Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands haven't yet published their 2022 list. So if I became aware, for example, that one of these jurisdictions, and I'll just take an example of one that has been introduced in other countries. Okay, let's choose this example here of a country that has been introduced for the first time in 2022, and let's just assume that we think that is going to be introduced for Cayman Islands. What I can then do is save this file, and if I go to the Instructions tab, I can also add an amendment version so that when I import it, I can see that I've used a non-standard version. I've done my own editing. So if I put something in that box to add a suffix, the version will be appended. So 2023.001 will be our standard version that we've issued, and adding that little suffix shows that I've amended this for something that I think is going to happen. Going back to the main AEOI Hub reporting template, if I click on the logo to show the About AEOI Hub screen, we can see the CRS matrix version that we're currently using. And if I wanted to update the logic in here based on what I've just changed in the CRS matrix file, I click on the Sync button. This is going to update by copying across all the information that we were just looking at. That sync is now complete. It's updated the version here to indicate what I added in as my overrides, and it's also updated the date and time. That's also reflected on the audit trail. If I now take a look at the accounts data, if I look at the reportables, that change that was made to make Uganda for demonstration purposes now reportable would be reflected. So if I ran now a CRS report, it would create accounts that were reportable in those jurisdictions. We hope that you found that preview of the CRS matrix useful. The new version of our template, including that additional CRS matrix, is going to be available at the end of February. Please get in contact with us if you would like more information, and look out for further videos of our other features that are coming soon.